When we talk about automotive legends, there are names that carry real weight. The Porsche 911, the Jaguar E-Type, the Ford Mustang. For 6 decades, the Mustang has stood for a very clear idea: rear, wheel, drive, performance, visceral V, -8 power, taut chassis balance, and that unmistakable exhaust note. It's one of the last true unfiltered driver's cars in a world increasingly obsessed with electric SUVs and autonomous bollocks. But now, in 2026, there's a whisper, a murmur from the corners of the internet, that Ford might be about to throw all of that heritage into a truck-inspired, lifted, off-road Mustang Raptor. The question is this: is Ford crazy? Or is this exactly the sort of disruptive thinking the Mustang lineage needs? Before we dive into fabricated renderings and half-baked specs, let's be clear. Ford has not officially confirmed the existence of a Mustang Raptor. What we have today are rumors, speculative dealer blog posts, wild renders, and automotive enthusiast chatter with very little hard fact from Dearborn itself. Despite this, some outlets have run with the idea that this off-road Mustang will arrive as a 2026 model, complete with lifted suspension, all-wheel drive, Fox shocks off, road driving modes, and even supercharged V-8 power plants. Whether these claims are grounded in engineering plans or wishful thinking is the first thing we need to sort through. Let's start with where this idea came from: the heritage. For most of its life, the Mustang has been a rear-wheel drive sports car. Early fastbacks, Boss 302, S, GT 350s. Even the modern Dark Horse and GT 500 variants. All are focused on handling precision, balance, chassis rigidity, and straight-line grunt. You buy a Mustang for its engine architecture and its purpose-tuned suspension. You don't buy one to go crawling over rocks. And yet, here we are, talking about a Raptor version, a nameplate traditionally reserved for Ford's off-road trucks like the F-150 Raptor and Bronco Raptor. What does it mean when that name gets attached to a pony car? History and context matter. The original Ford Raptor was conceived as a high-speed desert runner. Widened track, long travel suspension, off-road shock absorbers, and an engine tuned to keep momentum over sand. And whoops, trying to graft that ethos onto a Mustang, a stiff-bodied coupe with a low center of gravity, is at best an engineering challenge, and at worst, an absurdity. And yet, automotive history isn't without precedent for odd hybrids. The Audi RS2 Avant was a station wagon with Porsche power. The BMW X5M was a performance SUV that handled like a sports car. But did anyone ever seriously ask for a lifted Mustang? No. That's the crux. It's not something anyone out here actually demanded. Fans on forums poke fun at the renderings, some calling them AI fantasies. And rightly so. If this off-road Mustang were real, the exterior would have to solve some very real engineering problems. The standard Mustang has a long front overhang, low ground clearance, and a suspension geometry tuned for tarmac grip. To make it capable off-road, rumors suggest an approximate 2-inch lift, all-terrain tires, reinforced underbody protection, and longer travel Fox shocks. The same supplier used on the real Raptors. But let's be honest, bumping a coupe up on all-terrain rubber doesn't inherently make it good in the dirt. A truck like the Ranger Raptor has been engineered from the tires down for off-road dynamics, wheel travel, approach angles, departure angles. It's all calibrated against physics. A Mustang would need a bespoke chassis revision just to approximate that capability. There's no evidence Ford has built even a prototype, let alone subjected it to engineering validation testing. Which brings us to the interior. If we're to believe these speculative reports, this Mustang Raptor would keep the pony car's digital dash and infotainment, but add rugged accents, off-road telemetry, and trail camera views. But let's apply the button test. Put an older buyer in this cabin. Turn the car on. How many tactile, physical controls are there for temperature, traction control, and suspension setup? Because sloppy, entirely touchscreen-driven controls, common in modern infotainment, are precisely what mature drivers hate. They don't want buried menus when they need simple adjustments. A proper off-road tool should have physical toggles for drive modes. And yet every leak we've seen remains vague on this point. Because it's not an official product, it's conjecture. Let's talk numbers. The specs floating around online. The rumored engine choices are the 5.0-liter Coyote V-8, roughly 450-500 horsepower, and a supercharged 5.2-liter V-8, pushing north of 700 horsepower for a Raptor R variant. Add a 10-speed automatic in full-time, all-wheel drive with an electronic center differential. That's a recipe on paper that sounds exciting. But here's the reality. Adding AWD and off-road hardware to a body not originally designed for it adds significant unsprung mass, more weight, more complexity, and inevitably, more compromise in handling. The Dark Horse and GT500 can fling a Mustang into a corner with surgical precision, mount the same engine and drivetrain in a lifted, heavier off-roader, and you fundamentally alter what the car is. You make it less of what made the Mustang revered in the first place. Now compare this mythical Mustang Raptor to real rivals. If you want off-road performance and dramatic capability, you buy a Bronco Raptor or a Land Rover Defender. Those are engineered from the foundation up to handle those duties. They have approach and departure angles, sandwich, structured skid plates, diff locks, and efficient torque distribution. A Mustang, lifted and slapped with rugged tires, still has a lot of pavement-centric DNA. It simply cannot compete with authentic off-road breeds. That's not cynicism. That's automotive engineering logic. On the flip side, if your priority is performance on asphalt, the 2026 Mustang range already has strong offerings. The Dark Horse with precise Magneride dampers, the GT's visceral V-8 torque curve, and even the Shelby variants that flirt with supercar territory. Those choices preserve the Mustang's identity. Nothing about frantic wheel travel or underbody bash plates is going to improve your lap times, your chassis balance, or your confidence behind the wheel on a twisting road. Which brings up the big question, does the world need this? Men in the 55-plus demographic watch car shows because we value honest engineering, not marketing contrivances. You and I can smell bullshit a mile away. The idea of an off-road Mustang sounds like a marketing exercise devised by Bean, counters who think Raptor equals cool, without understanding what it means in terms of purpose, dynamics, and heritage. If Ford does someday build a Mustang Raptor with validated engineering, real AWD hardware, bespoke suspension geometry, and thorough testing, great. But until we see Ford put its own engineers and validation rigs behind this rather than leave the concept to AI renders and dealer blogs, it's still just that, a concept, and an odd one at that because the Mustang's true essence comes from its focused mission. Low center of gravity, balanced chassis, free-breathing V8, and the raw driver feedback that no SUV, lifted or not, can replicate. The Bronco can handle dunes. The F-150 can eat desert. Whoops. The Mustang should do what Mustangs do best, pound pavement, not trails. In the end, you can speculate all you like about suspension travel, drivetrain layouts, or torque vectoring systems that might make this pony rugged. But until Ford signs off with steel on the ground and test miles logged, the 2026 Mustang Raptor remains an intriguing footnote, not an automotive reality. And frankly, that might be exactly fine because sometimes the best cars are the ones that stick to their core purpose. If you love speed and honesty, real engineering that respects heritage without chasing every trend, then keep watching places like LuxeLine. We don't drive boring cars and we don't fall for hype. Subscribe for reviews that cut through the noise and give you the truth. No bullshit.